There's a kind of music that doesn't ask permission to enter your chest. It simply walks in, pulls up a chair, and sits with you in whatever you're carrying. That's what the Impressions did. Not with noise, not with spectacle, with something far more powerful. Harmony. Human voices braided together so tightly they felt like one breath. Close your eyes for a moment. Think about the early 1960s. Chicago. A city divided by invisible lines. Families navigating a world that told them they were worth less. Young people falling in love in stairwells and church pews. Soldiers shipping out. Mothers pressing Sunday clothes. And somewhere underneath all of it, a song, a gentle chord, Curtis Mayfield's voice, clear as water, floating above the struggle like it already knew the ending. Tonight, we go back. Not to a history lesson, not to an archive. We go back to the feeling. 10 songs, 10 moments, 10 reasons why a group of young men from Chicago changed the sound of what it meant to be human in America. So, if you're driving somewhere quiet or sitting alone with your thoughts, this one's for you. If this kind of music speaks to you the way it speaks to me, go ahead and like this episode and subscribe to RnBFeeds. We're here every time you need to remember something beautiful. Number 10, For Your Precious Love by Jerry Butler and the Impressions. 1958, released 1958, charted into the early 1960s. Before Curtis Mayfield stepped to the front, there was Jerry Butler, a voice like dark wood and slow rain. And when he opened his mouth on this song, something shifted in the room. Something always shifted. It was 1958, but the song breathed all through the early years of the next decade, finding its way onto turntables in living rooms where people were just trying to hold something together. A new marriage, a fading one, a love that hadn't been named yet. The melody moves slow, almost reluctant, like it doesn't want to reach the end of the phrase because the end of the phrase means the moment passes. Butler's baritone carries a weight that didn't need to be explained. You simply felt it. What this song understood, before most songs did, is that love doesn't always come in bursts of excitement. Sometimes it comes in the quiet terror of realizing someone matters more than you expected. And that realization, that soft, helpless surrender, never goes out of style. Number 9, Gypsy Woman by the Impressions. 1961. There's a woman in this song you've never met, but somehow you recognize her. She moves through the verse like smoke. There and then, not there. Mysterious, a little dangerous, completely unforgettable. 1961. The civil rights movement was finding its legs. The world outside was loud and argumentative, but music carved out space for something softer, for the fantasy of a woman who exists outside ordinary rules, who belongs to no one, who enchants without trying. Curtis Mayfield wrote this at 19 years old, 19. And already he understood that the most irresistible stories are the ones where you can't quite catch the person you're chasing. The guitar work floats underneath like a question that doesn't need an answer. The harmonies from the group wrap around Butler's voice like a memory that keeps returning. You chase gypsy women your whole life, and part of you knows you're not meant to catch them. That's what makes the chase so beautiful. Number 8, I'm So Proud by the Impressions. 1964. Not every love song is about wanting. Some of the most tender ones are about arriving, about looking at someone and thinking, yes, this, you. By 1964, the Impressions had found their stride. Curtis Mayfield had taken over as lead voice, and what he brought was a tenderness so unguarded, it almost felt like eavesdropping. This song didn't perform love, it simply was love, quiet and certain. The country around them was fracturing. Birmingham, Selma. Legislation argued over like lives didn't depend on it. And yet, here was this song, small, warm, impossibly gentle, saying that in the middle of all that noise, I see you. I'm proud to be yours. The harmonies build like a sigh that expands into something luminous. The chord changes are unhurried. Nothing is trying to impress you. It simply trusts that if it's honest enough, you'll feel it. Some songs remind you what you're fighting to protect. This is one of those songs. Number 7, Talking About My Baby by The Impressions. 1964. There's a kind of joy that spills. You've felt it. The kind where you can't stop mentioning that person. Their name keeps escaping your mouth in conversations it has no business being in. You're not showing off. You're just full. The Impressions captured that fullness in 1964 with a bounce and a grin that was impossible to resist. It was different from their more soulful work, lighter on its feet, wider in its smile, but no less real. In a year when America was still parsing the Civil Rights Act, when joy for black families could feel almost subversive, this song was an act of radiant defiance. We are happy. We love someone. We are whole. The rhythm section drives forward with an insistence that makes you want to move. Mayfield's voice dances rather than soars. The group behind him sounds genuinely delighted, like they're in on something the rest of the world hasn't figured out yet. Sometimes the most political thing you can do is simply refuse to stop dancing. Number 6, Keep On Pushing by The Impressions. 1964. There are songs written for radio, and then there are songs written for something older. For the part of you that needs to be reminded on the hardest of mornings that the road continues. Keep On Pushing arrived in 1964 wearing the suit of a pop song, but underneath it was a sermon. Curtis Mayfield grew up in the church, and it showed, not in fire and brimstone, but in that deep, abiding certainty that endurance is its own form of grace. Civil rights workers played this on long drives between cities. Mothers hummed it while pressing clothes before work. Preachers quoted it without citing it. Maybe someday. It entered the bloodstream of a generation that was being asked to carry more than any generation should. What Mayfield understood was that gospel and soul weren't so far apart. Both were asking the same question: can you keep going? And both were offering the same answer: yes, together, with your voice joined to others. Some songs are handed down. This one was held up, lifted over the heads of a people, and passed forward like a torch. Number 5, Amen by The Impressions, 1964. You've probably heard this one without knowing where it came from. It found its way into films and church halls and school assemblies. It became part of the air. But when The Impressions first sang it in 1964, it was something specific. It was a group of young black men from Chicago singing a word that meant, we believe, not blindly, not naively, but with the fierce, clear-eyed faith of people who had been given every reason not to believe, and chose to anyway. The arrangement is almost playful, a call and response that dances. And yet, underneath the lightness is something ancient, something that connects this song to every chant that ever rose from a crowd that needed to be heard. Mayfield had a gift for hiding depth inside accessibility. This song doesn't announce its weight. It carries it quietly, the way the strongest people do. Amen is just one word, but sung the right way, by the right voices, it can hold a whole world. Number 4, People Get Ready by The Impressions, 1965. Some songs arrive and you know, immediately, that they will outlive everything. You feel it in your chest before you've even processed the words. This is one of those songs. Curtis Mayfield wrote it in 1965, and it entered the world fully formed, like it had always existed and was only now being discovered. You don't need
ain't no ticket.
A train is coming. There is no ticket required, only faith, only the willingness to board. The song became an anthem without trying to be one. Martin Luther King named it among his favorites. It was sung at marches, at funerals, at the exact moments when words alone had run out and only music remained adequate.
Faith is the key. Open the doors and boy.
But listen to the gentleness of it. There is no anger here, no demand. Just an open door, a quiet train, and an invitation extended to everyone carrying something heavy. Come, there's room. The guitar figure that opens the song is one of the most recognizable in American music. A simple repeated phrase that somehow contains multitudes. And Mayfield's vocal, light as morning, carries the weight of everyone who needed to hear it. Decades later, in the quiet of late night, this song still arrives like a letter you didn't know you were waiting for.
For there's no hiding place.
Number 3, It's All Right by The Impressions.
It's alright. It's alright.
1963, before the deeper sermons, before the anthems. There was this, a simple luminous reassurance that landed at number 4 on the pop charts in 1963 and became The Impressions' first real breakthrough. It's a song about the morning after the hard night, about waking up and deciding gently that today things will be okay. Not perfect, not resolved, just okay.
Whoa, it's alright. Now
And sometimes okay is enough. The harmonies here are exquisite. Sam Gooden, Fred Cash, and Curtis Mayfield moved together like they'd been singing in the same room their entire lives. Because they had. The blend was effortless in the way that only years of listening to each other can produce.
when you wake up early in the morning.
In 1963, when the news was heavy and the streets were uncertain, a song that simply said, "It's all right," was not a small thing. It was a hand extended, a breath released, permission to continue. The most radical thing that song asked of you was to believe, just for 3 minutes, that it might be true.
It's alright.
Number 2, We're a Winner by The Impressions, 1967.
We're a winner.
By 1967, Curtis Mayfield's writing had grown sharper. The sweetness was still there, but underneath it something had hardened. Not into anger, but into conviction. And this song wore that conviction like a crown. We're a Winner arrived in a year of riots and assassinations and a nation arguing violently about what it owed its own citizens.
And we're a winner. And everybody knows.
And into that noise came this declaration. Not a plea, not a request, a statement. We are winning. We're moving on up. Some radio stations refused to play it. Too political, they said. Too much. Which told you everything about who those stations were protecting and everything about why this song mattered. The production is lush, confident, full of brass and rhythm. The harmonies soar. And Mayfield delivers the words not with fury, but with the quiet certainty of someone who has already seen the outcome and is simply reporting back. This song handed dignity to people who had been told for centuries they had none. It didn't ask permission to do so. You don't beg for what's already yours. You simply name it. And Curtis Mayfield named it beautifully.
And I don't care where you come from. We just gonna move on up.
Number 1, Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield, 1970. We end, or perhaps begin, here.
Move on up toward your destination.
Yes, this is 1970, and yes, by now, it was Curtis Mayfield on his own. But you cannot tell the story of The Impressions without following where Curtis went when he walked forward. Because everything he became grew directly from that Chicago choir room, those voices braided together, those years of learning what human harmony could hold.
Though you may find from time to time.
Move On Up is 8 minutes of something that defies category. It is gospel and funk and soul and prophecy. It is the sound of a man who has been telling his community to keep pushing, people get ready, we're a winner, and now finally saying it with his whole body, with bass lines that shake the floor, with horns that tear the sky open. It is a victory lap and a battle cry simultaneously. It is The Impressions distilled into one voice, one groove, one unceasing insistence that the journey is worth it. When the congas enter after that long opening stretch, something happens to the body.
For a greater day.
You don't decide to move, you simply are moving. That is what Curtis Mayfield could do, what the Impressions always could do. They made the music live inside you rather than outside you. Move on up, toward your destination. Though you may find from time to time complications. He knew the complications were real, he named them, and then he kept playing anyway.
So all we want to do is
Here is what I want to leave you with, long after the music fades. The Impressions were not making art for posterity. They were making it for survival, for the woman who needed to hear something true on a Tuesday morning, for the young man trying to figure out what courage looked like in his particular body, in his particular time, for the family that needed a reason to stay together one more week. R&B, real R&B, the kind that costs the singer something, is a form of testimony. It says, I was here, I felt this. And in case you felt it too, I've tried to find the exact notes that hold it. Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions found those notes again and again, across a decade that tested the limits of what a person could endure. They responded not with bitterness, but with beauty. Not with retreat, but with an open hand. That's why these songs still work. Not because they're old, but because the things they're addressing, love and loss and dignity and the need to keep moving, those things haven't gone anywhere. They're still in the room with us, every night. So, go gently tonight. Keep on pushing, and if you need a reason, you've just heard 10 of them. This has been RnBFeeds. Thank you for listening.